we had a giant boat of a car that had an 8-track player in it. My first cassette tape was New Kids on the Block.
What? Life is like a roller coaster, but it's better when we go through it together. Welcome to the Candace Bure podcast. We're here to share conversations about life's challenges, celebrations, and everything in between. And we are calling this season, Your Story Has a Villain, with my son, Lev, and guest host, Pastor Jonathan Pokluda. We call him JP. And remember, if you are watching on YouTube, click to subscribe and make sure you tap the bell so you know when a new video comes out. Come join us.
Bure.
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 I've been practicing.
I've been practicing.
Over the weeks.
I've been practicing. I almost have it down.
I read someone's tweet and they said, I can't believe that Candace Cameron Bure has a daughter and they didn't name her Raspberry.
What?
Raspberry.
Bure.
Speaking of names, you know how many people...
There's the snort.
Raspberry.
What?
You know how many people call you Cameron
Yes.
as a first name?
Yes, I do. More
a lot of
than
people do?
anyone
Always
would
like,
really.
like, wow, it's amazing. Like, I love Cameron. Is she going to be here today?
Really?
Yeah.
I love like your mom,
people
Cameron.
say it to my face.
Candace
all the time.
Cameron, I feel like, is like such a, iconic. Dare I say that? Is that okay?
Sure.
It's pretty iconic.
It is iconic.
Well,
Candace
thanks.
Cameron.
I mean,
but
you
yeah, a
technically
lot of
haven't
people-
been off television in how long? Like, how long has it?
Never.
Right?
I haven't because Full House has never been off the air in almost 40 years.
How old
40
were you
years.
when your
10.
first time on TV?
Oh,
Was
5.
5 years
It's
old?
insane.
5. Yeah.
What?
I've been in the entertainment industry
So it wasn't Full
over
House.
40 years. No, I worked for 5 years before Full House, but Full House was my first series.
How did you become a believer?
Oh, well, here we go. It's my testimony.
Yeah.
I became a believer. My parents were on the brink of divorce when I was 12. A friend invited them to go to counseling at their church. My dad was not a believer. My mom was a believer, but my dad agreed to go to counseling and start going to church because they really did want to reconcile the marriage, but didn't know how to. This gave them a start. This started our journey going to church. So at 12, probably after a couple of months of going, 6 months of going, I gave my life to Christ.
Wow.
And loved Jesus, but I didn't start living my life for Christ and having a relationship with him until I was about 25 years old. Thought a lot about it, but kids changed me. And then I was like, I don't even know what to teach my kids about God because I don't really know God myself.
Were your parents were they into acting?
No. So my dad was a public school teacher for over 35 years, but we lived in LA, born and raised in LA. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom raising the 4 of us kids. And she had a friend whose son was in the business. And she would tell my mom all the time, oh, your kids are so cute. Let me give me their picture. I'm going to take it to my agent. And one day my mom was just like, okay, here you go. You can have it. And the agent said, sure, I'll look at them. The 4 of us, because I have 2 older sisters and an older brother. And the agent interviewed us, took my brother right away, took one of my sisters, didn't take the other one, and told me, because I was 4 at the time, said, bring her back in a year.
Wow.
So I came back at 5.
Come on.
And by then my other sister that the agent had taken realized she didn't like it.
Wow.
So she dropped out. And then there was me and my brother.
That is wild.
That's crazy.
So here's what's crazy about your testimony as I hear the part about your parents on the brink of divorce. So to tell you the other side of those kinds of stories, I think that if someone, if I had a meeting today, hey, it's this family and they're on the brink of divorce, and I'm, the temptation for me would be for that to feel toilsome. like I wouldn't have the foresight today unless I'm really walking in the Spirit, really got a great quiet time. Like the Lord is, supernatural discernment. But I would think, oh, this is going to be like such a challenge to meet with this couple. And, it's going to be this thankless job. And I'm going to point them, I'm going to try to tell them the right things, but they're going to tell me that I'm crazy, which is how those meetings happen in real life. It's like, hey guys, you need to love each other and you're being selfish and you need to work out your marriage. And it's kind of like this, hey, thanks, but no thanks. But as I hear your testimony, like I'm strengthened, I'm reminded like, wait, some of my biggest messes are future missionaries. Some of my biggest problems are future pastors. And, I wouldn't, you got to think like, hey, you never know how many generations people are going to be impacted by this conversation if the Spirit of God moves through my words and restores this marriage. So it's awesome to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to follow that up, my dad is a believer now, but my dad wasn't a believer for probably like 30 years or so. I think even within, my parents have been married over 55 years
Wow.
now. But anyway, my dad became a believer probably in my like late 20s, maybe early 30s, something like that. Anyway,
Praise
pretty
God.
cool. Praise God.
I think that's how, I know as we talk about the villain, that's how he deceives, is I think he tries to convince us that our work is in vain, that it's futile, and it's not really, it doesn't matter. That's a big lie that they say, is like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You're just wasting your time. You're just kind of going through the motions. So as I heard that, it actually ministered to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I was thinking about our staff. I was like, I need to remind our staff that, hey, that our work matters so much that as you minister to people, that it might feel thankless, but you don't know what God is going to do on the back end of that.
Right.
Yeah. So we're talking about God deceiving today, and
The villain deceiving.
Sorry. No, God doesn't deceive us. I'm so sorry. That was me being distracted. That was our conversation last week.
There you go.
I was distracted because I was going to ask you some really fun but silly questions. But I feel like we already got into the conversation, but you had talked about in the chapter of your book, this chapter, you talked about a story switching price tags on a Boys to Men CD. So of course I'm like, wait, let's talk about what CDs you bought.
I do know. Yeah. You know what? All right. You know what?
You know Boys to Men?
I was really enjoying our time together.
Okay. I'm just asking.
No. Yes. I know Boys to Men. Okay. I know Boys to Men.
So what other kind of music did you listen to growing up, or what other CDs were you buying when we bought CDs?
My first,
what was your first CD?
I'm going to date myself because my first CD was a cassette tape.
Okay.
I respect that.
Ours too.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Listen, my brother and sister bought a record. We had the Go-Go's record single. And the Bangles.
There was a short-lived, we had a giant boat of a car that had an 8-track player in it. And I remember we would go on road trips. My dad would play this song. I don't even know who it was. My first cassette tape was New Kids on the Block.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on. Because Lev knows, I go to their concert every year.
Yeah.
They have a residency in Vegas this year. So some friends and we're all going to go see their show. We see it every year. They have such a fun concert.
What's your favorite New Kids on the Block song? Give
you know the one that goes like in that one way? That's my favorite. I love that one.
Come on.
I remember my first streaming service. It was great. Yeah, I loved,
What was the first
to Apple
song
Music.
you downloaded,
I remember, 10 years ago. It was...
what was it?
I am so old. I remember the days where you had to purchase songs individually.
Here we go. Okay, boomer.
Oh, man. Yeah.
My very first CD, this is so strange, but it was Smokey Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know why. Went to Tower Records.
That's why.
But I loved Smokey Robinson, but different generation. But he was my first CD. And then George Michael, the Faith CD. That was my second CD I ever purchased.
Oh, second was Vanilla Ice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I rapped with Vanilla Ice.
See, this is why I just
on TV, live on TV.
I'm like,
you were bringing something like
Kids. She was like, I was hanging out with New Kids. Like Vanilla Ice. She's like, oh, I was on that album. I was on a Forrest Frank album.
Nice.
Yeah, you were.
Wait, this is so obnoxious of me, but he has a lyric about me. in one of his
Again,
songs.
one up. Like
He
you're bringing
does.
stuff and it's a one up.
Dude, I got nothing.
Lev found it and he told me about
Actually,
it.
no, you're mistaken. I believe it was Holvey. It was Holvey's lyric.
Yeah,
Oh.
their song.
on the Forrest Frank song. Yeah.
Okay.
In their
Like
song
DJ
together.
Tanner.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like,
Which he's incredible.
that was
I think.
that was
I'm
awesome.
the one. I sent that to you. I did. I really did.
You sent it to me?
Straight up via Instagram. I really did. I'm dead serious. I was like, hey, it was a.
Maybe
it was a,
I didn't
it was like a
realize
short.
it though.
Well,
I told
may
you
not
in
have.
person. I remember. I told
you don't
her
follow
in
me on
person.
Instagram,
Of course
and so you probably
I follow
never.
you.
never got the. You
Stop
didn't
it.
get the. You didn't get the message, but
Stop
I did
it.
send you because it was a clip they made.
Okay.
That Hovey did with Forrest, and it was in
there's
there.
a clip.
Yeah, it was like the clip, and it was that. It was that
Oh.
part, and I was like, hey, shout out.
Where
Very-
I'm going, you can't get there with a PJ. It's so full inside this house. I feel like DJ.
Dude, you got it. It's so full up in this house. I
And
feel like
Lev
DJ.
had to explain to me what a PJ is.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wait, what's a PJ? Yeah, I got you. I'm tracking.
The private jet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
private jet.
PJ.
I was just, yeah.
Dude, shout out Forrest.
But you gotta, yeah, okay, I gotta bring it back. Because I love this though. But I want to know that Boys to Men CD
Yeah, Cooley Eye Harmony.
story that you're going to tell me about.
Yeah.
Because
So-
what is that story?
So I was like misdirected youth. I was in a small town. I was got in a lot of trouble. My dad was a cowboy. Like we lived on a farm, cows, the whole deal. And I didn't want anything to do with that. And so I when I got into high school, I ran with the wrong crowd and they would steal, like they would go and steal stuff. And I was raised in the church. I had this like moral compass of sorts, kind of. You're going to hear kind of. And so I couldn't steal like the traditional way, probably just a lack of courage, honestly, fear. And so what I would do, and I made this right before you guys, I've actually gone back to the Walmart, asked for forgiveness, said, hey, how can I make this right? But what I would do is I would switch price tags. Like I would take the price tag of something expensive.
And I see.
And I would take the price tag of something cheap and put it on something expensive.
Right.
And then I would go and I would buy it. So this is back in the day. There's like now it's all barcodes and whatnot. Back in the day, it was like price tag. You would like look at the price tag. You would know what something was, or you could switch the barcode or whatnot. And so they would ring it up and I would pay for it, but I wasn't paying the correct price or paying for the correct item. And I had learned that in high school. You wouldn't get away with that today. But as I think about how the villain deceives, what he does is he takes things that are really cheap and he makes them look expensive. And he takes things that are of eternal value and he makes them look really cheap. And I'm going to try to give weight to that by saying this. Like I understood the world. So then when I graduated from college, like I'm not a believer, I moved to Dallas. I'm kind of everything wrong with Dallas in a person. I'm pretentious and I want to be a millionaire before I'm 30 and I'm chasing the dollar and I live in the penthouse condo and I drive the Jaguar and, all the things, just chasing the world. And I start going to church and I'm like, man, church is kind of lame. I'm like, I'm not like the club is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But church is kind of like, now when I say the club is fun, I think about how many hangovers, how many pregnancy scares, how many, I don't feel well this morning. I don't know that I can go to work. I was addicted to pornography. It's like completely enslaved to it. I would call in sick so I could look at porn. So all this stuff that I'm calling fun, as I describe it today, I'm like, man, I was a slave. I was a slave to sin.
Right.
So then when I became a Christian, I came into a right relationship with Jesus. Like people, I'm starting to experience real community, like deep friendship, real relationships. I remember I went on a mission trip to Africa. Like when I would drink, to the point of just like getting blackout drunk or wasted or whatever. My friend and I, we would be like, one day we're going to backpack through Europe. One day we're going to go here. But what we would do instead of one day, we would just go back to the club, run up another bar tab and then go home. That like sin robs you of creativity. It just completely strips you of creativity. But now I'm a Christian. All of a sudden I'm like going to a foreign country to train the government on conflict, on reconciliation. and conflict resolution. And it's like, what in the world? Well, like God has a real plan and a purpose for your life that goes so far beyond sin, but the enemy will use sin to deceive you, to make you think that life is there so that you don't find the full life that Christ has for us.
How have you been fooled by people?
Yeah.
Or fooled by something, I guess. I was going to say, I feel like I've been fooled by people, but is there something that you've been fooled by, either one of you?
Yeah, I mean,
that you've been deceived?
Yeah, a lot of things. I worked, my first job in ministry was at a really wealthy church. I mean, just like in a wealthy area, but I'm doing pastoral care. So I'm sitting with couples who have everything, but they don't know how to stay married. They have, everything, but they don't know how to be happy. They have access to all things, but they can't find real, true, sustaining joy. And so that kind of was this wake up call for me of like, oh man, I think I'm buying the lie, the Instagram highlight reel, that this is where life is.
Totally.
But then when you get it, it's like, hey man, there's still depression amongst, billionaires. There's still suicide amongst hundreds of millionaires. Right. And we see that here, especially it's just like, so that's one. I think every time, that I pursued sex outside of marriage, it was like, hey, there's life here. Like there's significance here. There's pleasure here. And I think, that was a way that I was deceived, believing a lie. I think that, finding significance in a promotion or in corporate America, like that was a lie. So there's just countless ways throughout my life.
Do you have anything personal that you would share with us, Lev, in a way that you have felt deceived or fooled?
For me, it's definitely putting worth into things that are of very little value. For me, that's pride is huge. Significance is huge. I think some of my, where I feel in my flesh on top of the world, but really I'm at my lowest low is where like I want to be important and I seem important in front of a lot of people. And I think a lie that the enemy feeds me is that it's this fear of like almost like the lack of significance, but public significance, where really fighting that with the truth that, being significant for the kingdom and being on mission is of, eternal value. But that's for me, it's definitely rooted in pride. And even like that, I think goes with insecurity as well.
Yeah.
I think about the search for significance. I'll sometimes be in an arena. I mean, a lot of people, I'm not, this isn't a flex, but recently 55,000 people. And I'm like, who here knows their great grandfather? In 55,000, who knows their great, not your grandfather, not your great grandfather, but your great grandfather. And sometimes there's like 2 hands that go up, 3 hands. And I'm like, who could come up here and tell me, his hobby, his favorite color, what he did for a living. And you can see those hands kind of go down. Right. And I'll go, his name. Like, who can tell me his name? Your great grandfather's name. So the vast majority of people, like the vast majority of our viewers and listeners right now, would not be able to do that. And here's what I want you to know. And this is where I'm going. He was alive. You do the math. He was alive 50 years ago. Okay. 50 years ago. So here's what that means. 50 years after we're gone. Okay. Nobody's driving down the road saying, oh, thank you so much, great grandmother, great grandfather, JP. Thank you for the legacy that you've bestowed upon me. No, to dust we return. You know what's going to happen? 6 people are going to carry us in a box in a room. Okay. They're going to stand there. They're going to say amazing things about us. They're going to tell some funny stories. They're going to cry. And then they're going to go get Italian food and fill up on breadsticks and go on about their life. And they're going to die too. And then the next generation will have no idea who you are. And you may even like pass on your inheritance to them. Like they may go to college on your money, but they're not going to know your name. And that perspective is so important. for us to understand as we search for significance, as we try to find meaning in this world. You have to understand there's a whole nother world, that we're actually living for, that we're going to die and we're going to be face to face with our Creator.
Mm-hmm.
And so the enemy loves to get us like bogged down in,
But that is depressing to think about.
Totally. It is if there's not another world.
Right. Amen to that.
Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. 1 Peter 4:10 says, "As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace." By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, professional, and personal goals. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University, private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. Hey friends, if you're walking through perimenopause, menopause, or just trying to get a better handle on your health, don't just push through, get answers. Joy Women's Wellness can help. I recently got my labs done with Joy, and it was really eye-opening. I'm all about whole body health, mind, body, and spirit. And this gave me the answers I didn't even know I needed. Joy tested my hormones, vitamins, inflammation, you name it, they tested all. And I met with this amazing clinician online who broke it all down for me. I learned that my liver needed some love, so NAC and milk thistle were recommended for an extra boost. And I'm also supporting my thyroid and sticking to my gluten-free diet to cut inflammation. And I learned that I don't need so much vitamin D, so I'm cutting back on that supplement while I have the summer sunshine. God gave us these incredible bodies, and tuning them is a part of honoring that gift. Joy can take the guesswork out. So do what I did and order your labs. Right now, my listeners can receive 50% off labs at joyandblokes.com/Candace. Get answers today. And guess what? Your treatment ships right to your door. It's so easy. That's joy, JOI, and blokes.com/Candace.
It's really depressing.
Right. Gosh, I just sat here in this world because I'm like, that bummed me out.
Yeah.
I mean, my Val's dad passed away late last year. And so, I'm thinking about our time at the funeral and everything that you said. And it's true, every day goes by. And I mean, if you're close to someone, you're still thinking about that person, but it's less and less.
Yeah.
We were maybe, thinking about him every day, and then it's a couple times a week. And then, anyway.
And what I'm saying, and I want to be sensitive to where you're at, and Val's dad had a dad.
Right.
And his dad had a dad.
Right.
And we don't know his name, and he's really close family.
Yeah, you're right.
Really close relative.
Yeah.
And that is life. And so we have to understand that there's this other thing that we're living for, that relationships matter because they matter to God. And I mean, they come to Jesus and they say, hey, your mother and brothers are here. And he goes, who is my mother and brothers except for those who do the will of my Father? And so there's going to be people in the kingdom that we're closer to than non-believing relatives.
Right.
Because we're going to be with them forever and ever and ever. And so we have to maintain that supernatural, spiritual, eternal perspective. And the enemy loves to distract us into the temporal, earthly, natural perspective.
So when we have that heavenly perspective, I want to talk about on the other end of that.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago, or maybe in the second episode or something, but a little bit about hell.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about that.
I think a great way the enemy deceives us is trying to make light of hell. You know, it's like, oh, it's not that, you know, I'll share the gospel with people and they're like, oh, I'm going to hell. I'm like, man, if you really knew the horrors of hell, you wouldn't be able to get out of bed if you were going there.
Yeah.
Like you would collapse under the weight of the horrors of hell, because it's not, some people are like, oh, it's a party. You know, I'm going to do drugs in hell. There's no drugs in hell.
Right.
There's nothing to numb pain in hell. It's all of the pain of this world concentrated and realized. There's no, you know, there's no laughter in hell. Hell is, it's eternal FOMO. You know, FOMO is the fear of missing out. Hell is the realization that you could have had a paradise with God, but you chose self. You chose, like you really fully engaged in the distractions of the enemy. Candace, you may appreciate this, just being a mom, but when the girls, we have daughters who are 22 months apart. So before Weston came along, or he was maybe an infant, but when they were little, like 2 and 4, they loved lollipops. Like just more than anybody's loved anything. And so I can remember, and I just, you know, they have them at the bank and anywhere you go, like sometimes there's like a bowl of lollipops, and I would just, when I see them, I'd get them. And if I came home as a dad, if I came home with a lollipop, it might as well have been Disney World, you know? Yeah. And so I was getting Monica's car repaired. I was at the mechanic or the dealership getting it worked on, and they had a bowl of lollipops, and I got one, and I was bringing it home for Presley. And when I was on my way home, Monica said, hey, Presley made some bad choices today, and you're going to have to discipline her when you get home. And I was like, oh man, because I was going to come home a hero, and now I'm going to come home and be the bad guy. And so I come home and I sit her down, and I was like, hey, I understand you made some bad choices today. And she was like, yeah, you know, I was mean to Finley. I was disrespectful to Mom. And I said, well, look, I brought you home something today. And I pulled out that lollipop, and I think she thought, oh, I'm going to get grace, you know, like, and I threw it away. And I mean, you would have thought I hit her thumb with a hammer. I mean, talk about demonic possession. I mean, I'm kidding about that, but she just like goes crazy. She's like, I can do whatever I want. And I was like, whoa. Right. Like she just had this tantrum. Yeah. And
that reminds me of someone in our family.
Yeah. Who?
Natasha as a child.
I thought you were going to say him. That's why I said who. I'm sorry, Natasha. That wasn't nice of me.
Natasha was on here. She would lie. She would admit it's true. She's not like that now.
That's the reason I ended up at Kanika, because they sent her away.
Wow.
But keep going. Keep going.
So she like throws this tantrum because I threw away her lollipop. That was her discipline. So I said, oh, really? And I'm trying to, like, as a dad, I'm like, all right, what do I do? Well, recently I had gotten this box of like C's candy lollipops that I was like saving for like a birthday or something. Like these are the expensive stuff. You know? And I went, and she didn't even know I had them. And it's like the good stuff, you know? And I went and got it, and I showed it to her, and I slowly poured it out in the trash can, that box. And she was just like, when she saw what I had, like I had a goodness that she didn't even know existed.
Oh, wow.
And her eyes got really big. And then the realization that she lost that forever.
Yeah.
That's hell. Every second, forever and ever and ever. And I'm not talking about lollipops. It's the full realization of the goodness of God that was available to you, paradise with God forever and ever and ever, a place where there's no sadness, no death, no disease, no heartbreak, laughter and joy, the fullness of joy forevermore, forever and ever and ever and ever. And the realization that you missed out on it forever and ever and ever. In Luke 16, the rich man and Lazarus, he can see Lazarus. Like he has a perspective, and he's so delusioned in his sin that he's like, hey, I'm in torment here. Can you bring me some water? You know, can you cool my tongue? And it's like, no, there's no way for me to get to where you are. There's eternity. We are separated for eternity. And like, that's the realization of hell. And I think the way that the enemy deceives us is to convince us that it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I often wonder when someone hears that and they're thinking like, you're just trying to scare me with that brimstone and fire stuff. And
Yeah.
you're trying to scare or put the fear of God in me, and God should be all loving and kind. And why are you trying to scare me with hell?
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, I know how I respond to someone like that, but I'd love to hear either of you respond when someone thinks like, that's not nice of you to talk about hell in that way, because you're only trying to scare me into a relationship with God.
Well, different people respond to different things in different ways. I really appreciate the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so if something is truthful, I think it's loving. And the truth can feel like hate to those who hate the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And if hell is real, if what I said is real, then the most loving thing I can do is tell you about it. So I would say the burden of evidence is on you, listener, person, to show me that what I said is incorrect. Because this is here's how Jesus talked about hell in Luke 12. He said, it's just really graphic. He said, they will be cut up into pieces and sprinkled into the outer darkness. That's what Jesus, like peace sign, throw up the deuce, hold a lamb, like walking around loving Jesus.
Right. In red letters says it.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying, I'm using even kinder words than King Jesus. And so if you believe in Jesus and you believe in God's word, it describes hell as weeping and gnashing of teeth. It describes it as Gehenna, which is a never ending burning dump where there's, the flesh decomposing, because that's where they would throw out dead bodies. I mean, it's a really horrible, horrific place. And, I would, if you said, well, you're just trying to scare me, out of hell, I would say, did it work? I don't know. I'm just trying to communicate the truth. And really it is the kindness of God that leads people to repentance. And I think hell, C.S. Lewis said hell is locked from the inside, that the only people that go there are those that just said, hey, I so badly don't want anything to do with God that I will end up in a place where there's nothing there that remotely resembles God.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing
That's
that.
crazy. No, do you think that, like, as you share the gospel, both of you, with people, I think there is this interesting dichotomy that you mentioned between like scaring people out of hell, but also, I think in reality is showing the goodness of God.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you present that to people in a way where they're not saying, hey, you're just trying to scare me out, but you're really saying that there's a God who's above all, that's good, and he's the best thing ever. Yeah.
You said, what you would say when you asked that question to me. Does something come to mind?
I kind of forgot now, but a good analogy that I like to use with people is, if you were in a house that was burning, but you were asleep, and I'm your neighbor, and I saw that your rooftop was on fire, and I ran to your house and I started banging on your door, bang, 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 bang. You're asleep.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is that neighbor banging on my door? And you'd be annoyed at me. Bang, 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 not stopping. You'd be so grumpy.
Yeah.
And if you finally got out of bed, bang, bang, bang. And I opened the door and I'm like, dude, your house is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be so appreciative. Thank you. Thank you for getting me up, getting me out. Like, let's get out, let's run. But without knowing that reason, you might be mad at me that I'm banging on your door at 3 a.m.
It's beautiful.
But once you understand and see the bigger picture, that outside perspective of what I see, dude, you're going to die if you stay in there. You'd be very appreciative of the good news of someone rescuing you. Yeah,
there's that's incredible. I'm stealing it and I'll forget where I heard it. So I just came up with this. There's this thing I just came up with. There's a famous clip that went viral of Penn and Teller. Mm-hmm. And so they're magicians, have a show in Vegas, arguably, or some of the most famous, most well-known magicians, illusionists, if you will.
Yeah.
And he's an atheist. I mean, a renowned atheist of our day, a naturalist. doesn't believe in God. And someone at his show was kind to him, gave him a Bible, and just very earnestly and sincerely, like, shared the love of God with him, told him God loves him, and talked to him. And he went home and, like, tearfully, I mean, like, choking down tears, just said, hey, I respect that person who has such a deep conviction of their belief that they would tell me the truth. And he said this famous line that stayed with me. He goes, how much do you have to hate a person to not tell them? And so it's like, if you see your neighbor's house on fire and you don't want to inconvenience yourself to walk across the street or walk next door to tell them, it's like, how much would you have to hate that person to sit in your home hoping that their house burns down and with them in it, or, you know, that they come to some resolution on themselves.
Right.
And that's why a lot of, you know, it's been said is a lot of us are like functioning atheists, because we say we're Christians, but we're surrounded by people who we believe are going to go to hell by their own volition one day, and we do nothing about it. And I think there's such a command in the scripture for us to share the gospel. And I think the enemy deceives us into silence, or like,
I was gonna say, what do you think keeps us from that?
Yeah, and I think it's all it's a comfortability, and it's a I'm not thinking of the word I want to use, but I would say there's a comfort in that we are comfortable in not wanting to inconvenience ourselves, or oftentimes we can think, well, if it's not me, God will bring someone else to share it.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm scared. I'm nervous. It's not the right time. I don't know how. I don't feel comfortable enough. I'm not confident enough.
Yeah.
Someone else will do it.
Yeah. I think it's all of those things, and fear of man. Galatians 1:10 says, am I now trying to win the approval of God or of man? Or am I trying to please God or a people? Or am I trying to please people? Or if I'm trying to please people, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. And he presents this dichotomy that you're either a bondservant of Christ or you're afraid of people.
Yeah.
And I think all of this, like the whole thrust of the scripture, is that we're to go out and tell everyone how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news. Ephesians 6, a chapter that we've referenced many times, just talks about the feet fitted with the readiness of the gospel. Yeah. And so I think it's paramount that we do not fall into the enemy's lies. You know, that I talk about evangelism all the time, and people are like, you know, it's like, what do you think people are afraid of? Like if they like the person who says, hey, I'm a believer, but I don't share my faith because what do you think they're actually afraid of?
They're afraid of what other people think of them.
Yeah, it's rejection ultimately, I think.
So like, let's just play that out. So like their worst fear, they share the gospel and they think X is going to happen. What do you think that is?
Someone's going to attack them.
Yeah, like
or I think they just don't know the answer to a question that's going to be asked of them.
Yeah. So like, isn't that like a beautiful deception of the enemy? Like when I say beautiful, I mean, I'm like fantastic, huge deception of the enemy. Cause like I have efforted, again, not a flex, but I've tried to share the gospel every day of my life since becoming a Christian. And no one has ever resorted to any sort of violence toward me ever, not one time. And then like the worst that has ever happened, I was in the corporate world and a guy threatened to turn me into HR, and that's bad. You know, you could lose your job, I guess, but I didn't. And that guy ended up becoming a Christian. He got baptized.
Wow.
His wife became a Christian. She got baptized, and his daughter became a Christian, and she got baptized. And that's what God did. And it's like God did it, not me. Like I'm sitting there afraid for my job, and the Lord saves their whole family. And so like, that's what the enemy, like that he deceives. And if you're sitting there and you're like, well, what if they ask me a question and I don't know? Like, I'm going to teach you 3 words to say in that situation so that you have it for the rest of your life. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Exactly. You're like, I can, but wow, let me get back to you. That's what I say.
ChatGPT or Google or something. Yeah.
I've been really convicted about that lately because in my life, I have always done my best to share the gospel whenever I can. Yeah. And whether I'm sitting next to someone on an airplane or, you know, and I used to pray about it all the time, and I've gotten really lazy about it. Yeah. And I was just filming another movie. And there's a lot of crew that I work with. That's the same crew. I work with them about 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, this last time I thought, because I don't get alone time with a lot of these people. We're on a set, we're working. There is the HR thing.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, a couple of us will go out to dinner after work. And I was sitting there and I got so convicted. And I was like, Candace, I talk about God all the time because it's in my daily language, whether or not someone's a believer. But I thought, I actually shared the gospel with the people that I'm sitting at dinner with right now. Have I actually done that? And I was like, nope, I haven't. So it really convicted me, and I'm very prayerful over it now because I'm like, oh, that's just, you get a little too comfortable. That's what I was talking about. I got a little too comfortable and I want to feel that conviction, but I just know I need to pray about, God, give me the opportunity. Who do you want me to talk to today? Open up the conversation and, or just help me find the right words to get us into the conversation and just ask. And it's true. The most people that I've shared the gospel with are just opened up the conversation to say, like, well, what does your faith look like? Or how did you grow up? Was there, most people are willing to talk about it. Most people are. And, you just take it from there.
Totally.
Okay, we have to get to a listener question.
Okay,
this is so good.
The time goes by so fast.
Good, I know. Okay, this question is from Jenny.
First real name.
What?
Not real name.
Wow,
First normal name.
See,
Come on.
Now you
traditional name or something.
You upset everybody.
Come on.
Unique names.
Never gonna have me back.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Lev.
I'm sorry. Exactly, right? Yeah.
What's Lev short for?
Guess.
It's not. Oh, sorry.
It's not.
It's not. It's just Lev. L-E-V.
So Lev, honestly,
Lev was my great grandfather's name. Can I raise my hand?
No, great.
Not great, but great.
You're Lev.
And so that was Val's grandfather's name was Lev.
Come on.
And we both liked the name. I loved it. So I was like, let's name him Lev. What I didn't realize at the time, and it is so fitting for Lev, is that Lev means heart in Hebrew.
Come on.
And it just couldn't have been a better matching name for Lev, because this kid is all heart and sensitive in all the best of ways towards people.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Is that the watchmaker?
It was his. No. That's 2 more generations back.
Wow.
2 more generations back. So, but Lev,
Okay, so Jenny. We're going to get to Jenny's question.
By the way, Jenny, I think you have a beautiful name. It's great,
I bet it's short for Jennifer.
Okay, she writes in, I work at a school where the administrators emphasize and reward kindness to the children. However, kindness is not often shown by the administrators to others, especially towards other adults. Do you have any advice for thriving in an environment like this? It can feel very defeating.
Yeah. Yes. A great irony for us is, there's like we talk about being canceled or cancel culture, and I think a lot of it, we talk about fear of sharing the gospel or upsetting people. Fear of man is like this fear of being canceled. What I don't think we realize, or I think we often forget, is that the crux of our faith is our Savior getting canceled. I'm saying in air quotes for you listening, in the most heinous way. I mean, brutally tortured, naked on the side of the road. And he's the most innocent human being that has ever lived. And so he was kind of the first person to face that kind of persecution. So what I would say for Jenny is I want to first empathize with the challenges of that environment, a hypocritical, hey, let's teach kindness, but we're not going to be kind. I know that that's hard and difficult, and an incredible opportunity for you to display your faith, for you to shine brightly, for you to be the kindest person there, because your kindness is really going to pop in a sea of unkindness. And to lead the charge. And I don't think we think about that enough. That it's like, okay, for me to be like Jesus, for me to be Christ-like, it really is easier. It's actually easier to display Christ-like kindness when you're surrounded by unkindness. And so lead the charge there and be the example. And we just pray for courage for you, for the Spirit of God to not give you a spirit of timidity, but one of power, love, and self-discipline. So that's my prayer for you.
Amen.
Come on.
It was great.
Love it.
That was perfect. We're going to wrap up this episode.
Okay.
And we're going to come back next week.
Let's go next week.
Pastor JP and I made a free resource for you this season, and we're calling it the No Fear Guide. Spiritual conversations can be scary for some people, but we know that perfect love casts out fear. Go to Candace.com to find the link. It's also in our show notes. Until next time, be grateful all day, every day. Candy Rock Entertainment, all rights reserved.